Don't be zoning out on us and spinning around in your chair.
Don't be rolling your eyes in the back of your head. Don't be staring at the ceiling.
Welcome to the Pretense of Justice with hosts Carmen, Roland, and Sonia, where we discuss current events, controversies, and all things justice as we advocate for injustice. Let the justice begin. Okay, we are live. Welcome. We are live. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Pretense of Justice. And this evening we have me, Dr. Carmen Johnson. We have Mr. Roland Carter, and we have our new co-host, Ms. Tamika Christopher, and our other co-host, Ms. Sonia Robinson. She will be with us next month when we do our next show. Family, if you could please hit thumbs up and also hit subscribe and also share, we would really appreciate it. And I would like to kick it over to Mr. Roland Carter to start our conversation off about what's going on in current affairs.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pretense of Justice. We're going to kick this one off today. We're going to run over.
Recording in progress.
We're going to run on over to Ukraine and what's happening over in Ukraine, but not just basically what we keep hearing on the news since the invasion took place. What we want to talk about is the Black people in Ukraine are reporting racism while trying to leave. And it just so happened that none of the major news networks are carrying it as of yet. It includes the CNNs, the NBCs, the CBSs, the Foxes, America One, any of them. Nobody is reporting this. And, but, you know, being as though we have our hands on the internet, we can get some of the reports that are going on out there. And I just want to read briefly a report, and it says, with millions of citizens in Ukraine fleeing the country after Russia initiated a deadly attack on February 24th, there have been increasing reports of racism against Black people in Ukraine as they try to leave the country. According to The Independent, Black people seeking to leave the country have been abandoned at border crossings, have been discriminated against in their attempts to board public transport to evacuate the country. One citizen even told The Independent that he and his family were denied entry to a bus on its way to cross the border, being told no Blacks. I cannot imagine a scenario where white Ukrainians would ever be denied asylum, so how they're treating us is unwarranted. It's baseless. We are all escaping, so let's push a common thread, the citizen said. A medical student also caught in the conflict took to social media to report their experience and said that it has continued even after they were eventually able to cross the border after hours of traveling. Several buses crossing every hour and not one foreigner allowed to cross. We finally made it across, and we're told accommodations at the hotel is only for Ukrainians. No sleep or food in 3 days. Why does nationality determine who rests? Well, it's the same old song. And we have to include also that the reports are not only that that the Blacks are being discriminated against. He's saying that there are Arabs and people from India, and a few other ethnicities who are being discriminated against. And this is just it's not being reported. And we know that the world has a history of discriminating against people who don't look like them. And this is sad because there's a young guy in this area who's a basketball player who plays professional over in Ukraine. And he's been trying to get home, but the U.S. embassy is closed. So he couldn't get any help through the U.S. embassy, but he's trying his best as of right now to make his way back. What happened was a few weeks back, the Ukrainian basketball team told him that this was all some BS and that it was just showboating and this, that, and the third. And they told him if he left, because he was going to leave a few weeks back, they kept telling him if he leave, they won't honor his contract and pay him anything. So 4 days ago they invaded, and now he's still stuck there trying to get up out of there. And listening to this, it's going to be hard for him to get out, where, you know, the Ukrainians are discriminating against them based off of what they look like. And right after we discuss that amongst ourselves, I'm going to bring up, I'm going to read something from this book right here. And this book is by Zbigniew Brzezinski. He wrote this book back in 1997. It's called The Grand Chessboard. So once we finish discussing this topic about the discrimination against non-whites who are trying to escape out of the war zone in Ukraine, then I read something from this excerpt from this book. Who wants to, Tamika, you have anything to say about it? And if you have anything to say about Ukraine, go ahead, just let it go.
I had found an article that was on Twitter. It was yesterday. I'm trying to go back into my arsenal and pull it back up, but it's quite interesting hearing the takes on Ukraine. A lot of people that I'm talking to in these different social media spaces are speaking about whether or not the U.S. is going to get involved. And I know there's a lot of conversation about that, about the allied countries, NATO, what's going on the eastern side of Ukraine. So the topic is definitely hot right now. I always tell people to watch out for the hijack, because whenever there's something that's taking over in the news space, there's other things that are going on that we tend to often miss. So I try to have balance when it comes to what I'm paying attention to in the news. I do have a brother who has a really close friend over in Ukraine and was able to get something that, you know, it was first source, coming straight from her. And she said it's horrible over there. They will not let people leave. So I don't know if it's a black or white thing. I think it's just a lot of people are trying to get out and they won't let them leave, period. So that's just one aspect of it. Being all the way over here on the other side of the world, I just hope that, you know, things get taken care of swiftly and, you know, there's no casualties that don't need to be had, and the casualties that do need to be had to the people that they need to be had to get had swiftly. So I'm gonna yield on that. Rhonda, you got anything you want to put on it?
Okay, well, y'all know my little take on it. Well, the audience don't know. I just find it suspicious. This is just me, my little 1 cent, as I'm anonymous on the camera with my scarf. I feel that it's awfully convenient that they are winding down a certain medical condition, talking code, wink, wink, starts with the C, ends with the D, and now all of a sudden we have a war.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention, we know that all of these politicians, not all of them, I'll say at a higher level. Let me rephrase that in a different way. Just 2 years ago, the world leaders were able to get it together and be like, "Kumbaya, my lord." They needed to be on the same page with this medical condition, medical emergency around the world. And now that that's dying down, now they back at each other's throat and they can't pick up the phone and work stuff out or go meet and work it out, but yet they were able to stop the world at the drop of a dime. So, I'm just serving as Sis Sonia tonight. Shout out to you, sis. I got my tinfoil scarf on. I ain't buying it. So that's my 2 cents.
I'm not buying it either, because people tend to forget, if you follow the money and you follow the news that happened previously, a couple of years ago, wasn't Ukraine protesting against their government? And wasn't Mr. Ho Biden son over there messing around with them folks?
Yeah, they got big business.
Yeah. And wasn't they getting on to a Trump card about talking to Putin about what Ho Biden and his son was doing in Ukraine?
I ain't want to gossip. You ain't heard that from me.
So I'm just eating my popcorn. Now there is there's a channel, I can't remember the name of this guy's channel, but he has to be ex-military, because he literally had been watching the cameras that showed the flight footage going back and forth from here to there. And he was like, y'all, something's going on. If you check out these flights and pay attention. And he predicted it at least a month ago. He was like, they're about to go to war over there. People are moving their ships and they're moving these planes, and it's all kind of stuff going on, y'all. If you look at the Air Force bases and see the flights, you can watch it. You can see like they're prepping, and everybody was telling him he was crazy. And then a month later, Putin announces it. But the point that I was trying to make was, he said that on Putin's address, when he announced it, he said that he was going in there to basically destroy Nazis. So if he's saying he's going into Ukraine to destroy Nazis, go ahead then.
Well, I thought the Russians, back in the 40s and the 50s, they took some of the Nazis. They took the scientists, and then the engineers was sent over here to America, is what my understanding was. I'm confused.
Project Paperclip.
That part, yeah. To my understanding. So for me, also, I'm trying to figure out whenever they, when people start talking about Black this and Black that and all kinds of stuff like that, it makes me think what's really going on, because they know that people of color are so emotional and we are driven by our emotions. And so we're just going to be fixated on these people of color that they say is being trapped over there or stuck over there. And so for me, it's like, what's really happening? So that's my take on that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds scary though.
All right. But now let me throw a little bit of salt and pepper on this mix. One thing that we have to understand: sometimes a ham sandwich is a ham sandwich.
Sometimes
a ham sandwich is a ham sandwich. Now, I alluded to this book right here. This book right here. The guy who wrote this book, his name is Zbigniew Brzezinski. He used to be the national security advisor under Jimmy Carter. He also worked for President LBJ, okay? But he came up with an organization called the Trilateral Commission, which is, he founded it along with David Rockefeller, okay? So then this book right here was written in 1997. Look at the book. It's called The Grand Chessboard. Mm-hmm. And it's talking about, the cover reads this. It says, American primacy and its geostrategic imperatives. Okay? So when you're talking about this situation that's going on over there in Ukraine, the one thing you have to go back and you have to look at history, and you have to look at timeline and see what happens in the timeline. Back in World War II, when the Nazis invaded Poland and they started invading all of those Baltic states, and they ran past Ukraine, they set up the Waffen SS in there. Yes, that is true. But the one thing you got to keep in mind, that the president of Ukraine is Jewish. He's Jewish of the European Jewry. Okay, so you're talking about a Nazi, and that man is a Jew. The other thing is, I'm gonna read you this excerpt out of this book.
Tamika, Roland gets serious about his findings.
And just to be clear, I didn't say who was the Nazi. He said he was going.
No. See, there's another group that's hooked up in there in the Ukraine, of left over from when the Nazis were in there, the Waffen SS. They set up some stuff in there, but guess where it originated? It originated over here in the United States. Okay, so it says this on page 92. It says, most troubling of all was the loss of Ukraine. This is when, after the Soviet, the USSR collapsed. Okay, when the USSR collapsed, when Ronald Reagan was on, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. So all of those countries, Ukraine, all of them countries that were under the USSR became independent. And a part of them getting their independence, they had to give up all of those nuclear weapons that were there. Okay? Now what happened was, as the Soviets went back to just being Russia and pertaining their borders, what they did was they collected all of their nuclear weapons, took them back to Russia, and all of those countries became independent. Most of them were annexed into the North American Treaty Organization, which we know as NATO, right? Ukraine didn't get in it. That's the reason why, quote unquote, the United States won't put no foot troops in there right now, because they are not a NATO state. But if they go marching into one of those, Poland or something like that, then it's on. So let me read this to you. Most troubling of all was the loss of Ukraine. The appearance of an independent Ukrainian state not only challenged all Russians to rethink the nature of their own political and ethnic identity, but it represented a vital geopolitical setback for the Russian state. The repudiation of more than 300 years of Russian imperial history. Russian imperial history, meaning just like this country is. See, the problem that we're looking at is that the United States has bases all over this earth. So they surrounding Russia. Okay? The Russian imperial history meant the loss of a potentially rich industrial and agricultural economy, and of 52 million people ethnically and religiously sufficiently close to the Russians to make Russia into a truly large and confident imperial state. So what it is, they lost their imperialism. And what Putin been saying, I'm going to get them back, and we're gonna be like the old USSR. Ukraine's independence also deprived Russia of its dominant position on the Black Sea, where Odessa has served as Russia's vital gateway to trade with the Mediterranean and the world beyond. See, all this stuff is geostrategic. The loss of Ukraine was geopolitically pivotal, for it drastically limited Russia's geostrategic options. Even without the Baltic states and Poland, a Russia that retained control over Ukraine could still seek to be the leader of an assertive Eurasian empire, in which Moscow could dominate the non-Slavs in the south and southeast of the former Soviet Union. But without Ukraine and its 52 million fellow Slavs, Any attempt by Moscow to rebuild the Eurasian empire was likely to leave Russia entangled alone in protracted conflicts with the nationality and religiously aroused non-Slavs, the war with Chechnya perhaps simply being the first example. Listen to this. This is very, very important. Moreover, given Russia's declining birth rate,
Oh,
I'm
Lord.
gonna read that to you again.
Oh, Lord.
I'm gonna read that to you again.
Mhm.
Moreover, given Russia's declining birth rate and the explosive birth rate among the Central Asians, meaning people of what?
Color.
Thank you. Any new Eurasian entity based purely on Russian power without Ukraine would inevitably become less European and more Asiatic with each passing year. So now, see, because people don't get into that part of it and they don't understand geopolitics. Now, you can go to the April 1990 cover of Time magazine. April 1990 cover of Time magazine, and it says, "The Changing Color of America." What will it look like when whites are no longer in the position of power? So you're looking at it from one end over here, what's going on here, and I just read to you what their main issue over there is, because they're not reproducing themselves at a rate with the rest of the world.
So since they are not producing or reproducing like the rest of the world, so they want to block Black people over there, which I don't like that word, but
well, remember what I said in the report. The Africans were saying it was not just them that were being discriminated against. It was mostly anybody else who was not of Ukrainian or European descent.
But that would make sense though, Brother Roland, because if we were to go at war, I don't know who's friend or foe at that point. You feel me? It don't matter what the hell your skin color is, what country you from. So you got to think on the, like, when it comes to war, if we're here in America, right? We know who we are. I know that my ancestors been here pre-colonialism.
And so do I.
And we're okay, so we know who we are, right? And then we got some South Africans, right? And we know South Africa has allied with the establishment because you have the U.S., you have the South African embassy over in Washington, D.C. claiming jurisdiction over the southern states. Y'all could look this up. We were talking about this in Clubhouse today because we do so much trade with South Africa. Their embassy over in Washington, D.C. is talking about they got jurisdiction over these southern states. Okay, Mississippi, Virginia, Alabama, Georgia, a whole bunch of southern states. I'll post the link on the back for you to look, because I know you're looking like, what?
You definitely gonna have to post that for me to see, because I live in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I'm gonna post that for you, brother. And the point that I was trying to make is when you have all these different foreigners coming in from different countries, you don't know who's friend or foe. You don't know who's coming to take your stuff over. You know, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. That saying from Maya Angelou, was it?
I got that.
Yeah. So as people are coming into Ukraine, or people trying to leave Ukraine, or however what's going on over there, you got to tell folks what your nationality is, where you from, who your people are, because you can't trust anything right now, especially during a war.
So family, please hit the thumbs up, please subscribe, and also please share. Roland, so some of us,
Yes.
Some of us that's a little green and a little slow like me. So all that what you just read, can you just sum it up like for?
Well, basically what it's talking about we are in a thing with the world. The non-white people are increasing, have always been increasing. Okay. And white people around the world are dying out. They're not reproducing themselves as fast as the non-white population on the earth. And it has been like that for years, but now it's proliferating. Now, when we talk about this emergency that was talked about earlier, at the beginning, how many, who would have, most of the people passing away from it was who?
What,
oh, go ahead, Dr. Carmen.
Go ahead, sister.
I was thinking, you talking about the Rona?
Well, somebody told us not to say nothing like that.
Oh, it was people who had pre-existing conditions, and it was the elderly. And that's because they want to reset. You get rid of the elders because they're the ones who were affected by the economics that happened in 2008 the most. They're the ones who were losing their homes. They're the ones who were losing their pension funds. So get rid of the elders. And that's who it was targeting. Those were the ones who were passing away.
What color were they?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. I ain't no coroner, okay? I ain't see the body bags.
Well, they was.
I don't know.
Well,
I know one of them was my dad.
I'm sorry to hear that.
My dad, a black man.
He died of that?
Yeah.
Or did they say that's what he was?
That's what they said. That's what they said.
Your father had already had some other ailments.
Let me say something.
Okay, go ahead.
As long as I've been knowing you, I have been a researcher, and I still research to this very day.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to say the brother's name, but there was a serious brother. He passed away, who was the one who set me up on the research path. And that's where I got that saying, sometimes a ham sandwich is a ham sandwich. He was the man who uncovered the boule. He was the man who uncovered a whole bunch of things when it comes to our, so I mean, I knew that man personally, talked to that man every day until he passed away. But my point is we have to understand one thing about being here. The other day I was at a gala, and this I don't know what part of the world he was from, but he was Asian looking, okay? And he got up and said, "Hey, when did slavery end? Can anybody tell me when slavery ended in the United States?" So people was putting their hands up and yelling, "Oh, 1863. Another one, 1865. Another one, 1870 something. And he just was looking at him. And nobody said the right answer. Anybody here know the right answer?
It didn't.
There you go. It's still in effect. All they did was put it into what? The pretense of justice. They put it in the prison system. So it never ended. So those are the things that when we talk about there's a war going on over there, they trying to distract us from what's going on over here. Number one, the biggest thing that they distract us from is that this is our land.
We was here first.
That part.
This is our land. And to tell the truth, it's the whole earth. The whole earth is ours. But we got to keep in mind, if we not organized or united here, how in the hell are you going to be united and organized somewhere else? If you're not here organized with yourself, going in one accord, going in the same direction.
So if I could just add my other half a cent, and that'll make 1 cent total. So just to sum up what you were saying, Brother Roland, reading out of dude's book, it sounds like that this was planned.
It's always planned.
Right? I mean, so when I started talking earlier about, I find it suspiciously funny that we finished with one medical condition and now we're on to this. It was already planned. They project out the population. I know everybody on this panel knows this. They can project out the population. I'm saying at a minimum 30 years. It's probably 100 years because they plan stuff by the century. So this was already planned based on what dude said in, what you say that book came out in 1990?
1997.
1997. So Russia had already planned to come back and get that territory.
Yeah.
So then what we talking about then?
We talking about the pretense of justice.
Okay, so is Russia in the wrong? Do we need to mind our business? Like, I'm trying to figure out what's happening here.
Dick Gregory, before he passed away, he was on Roland Martin's TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And this is right after y'all boy got elected. Y'all boy Donald Trump.
Oh, now he our boy. Okay, whatever.
Y'all boy Adolf Trump. When he got elected, he was on Roland Martin's show, and Roland Martin asked him, where do we go? What we gonna do now? And Dick Gregory said, it ain't nothing you can do. He said, it ain't gonna be nothing you can do. He said, just get your popcorn and mind your business.
And mind your business.
That's what he said.
I make it my business to try to stay out of white folks' business.
And here's the thing. We're not sitting here talking in a way where we're trying to ostracize white people at all. But what we're talking about, I'm reading this from their book. It's not me saying this. This coming from their book. Just like I got this book right here. I wanted to talk about this tonight too. You see? Yeah. And the thing of it is, this book right here, the stuff that's going on in this country is how fascism is working right now, while we're not even paying no attention to it.
Now that I agree on. People don't even really know what that means.
I didn't write this book. Somebody else wrote this book.
Yeah, we have and shout out to the chat. So a shout out to Brother Charlie Sigler, and we also had King BJ in there earlier. But Brother Charlie says that's why they taking down the Confederate statues so they can make you forget history, so we can repeat it. In my opinion, never forget the past. Watch out for this global reset. Child.
Watch out, and this with all due respect, watch out for the global reset. It already happened. You living in it.
Ooh.
You living in it. You are living in it.
I just want to read the definition of fascism for those who don't know exactly what it is. So I'm gonna read the etymology version of 1921 from Italian Partito Nazionale Fascista, the anti-communist political movement organized 1919 under Benito Mussolini, 1883 to 1945. From Italian fascio, group association, literally bundle. All right. Groups of men organized for political purposes had been a feature of Sicily since 1895. Totalitarian sense probably came directly from this, but was influenced by the historical Roman fasces, which became the party's symbol. All right, so I'm gonna yield. So you go ahead and finish your thought, Brother Roland. I just wanted the folks to know what that word meant, in case they didn't know.
Okay. And I appreciate that. Nazi Germany, and you look at them, they call themselves National Socialists. Okay. But you look at their symbols, and their symbols were a bundle, Mussolini's. If you go and look at him when he may be standing making a speech and you look back, it might be a flagpole or something like that, and it's a bundle of sticks, and they wrap together. It's called a fasci. That's where they get the word fascism from. And it has an axe on it. Okay, that's why they call Mussolini and Hitler the Axis powers during World War II. World War II, the United States and France and England, they were called the Allies, and they called Mussolini, Japan, and Hitler, they called them the Axis. And that's what they talking about, the Axis on that fasci, okay? Well, if you go look in the House of Representatives, you see them same fasci sitting right there. They sitting there. You know what Hitler say he learned to be that way towards the Jews? He learned it from America, how they treated Black people, and couldn't understand how the Americans didn't treat the Jews over here the same way. You see? So this stuff has been here. And Carmen, you said something earlier about, you said, I thought that they sent some of the scientists over here and sent the scientists, some engineers over there. Oh, yeah. See, the Central Intelligence Agency took some of them because at the time it was called Office of Strategic Services. And then it turned into the CIA. When you go catch a plane out there in Virginia, it's called what? Dulles Airport. Mr. Dulles, it was two Dulles brothers. One of them was Department of State, and the other one was in charge of the Central Intelligence Agency, which came out of World War II. And they had a whole bunch of Nazi SS people. They had Nazi scientists that came over and helped with the rockets. Okay? That's who came over here and helped them. And some of them was absorbed into the Soviet Union. So these people, what they do is they play both sides. And then you got the money interests that put money on both sides and let them fight it out.
Like
That's what they do.
Yeah, the Rockefellers did that. Or was it the Rothschilds? Was it the Rothschilds that did that, or was that it was the Rothschilds?
At the beginning, it was the Rothschild family. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
I stand corrected.
So my other $0.50.
I know where you go with this.
You can read my mind. I saw your curl jump. But I said my other $0.50. With each war, to me, this is just Rhonda's lowly opinion. That does not mean this is gospel by any means. I just look back at history and I follow the patterns. And with each major war, you have shifts of power and change in population. And as Brother Charlie pointed out in the chat, a mixing up and a rewriting of history a lot also. So to me, all of this stuff is very much so pre-planned in advance. And it's, these wars are orchestrated not only to reset, but also to establish who's going to be the next world power. And it appears that what we're calling the United States, their time is up. From a world power perspective, it appears that it is going back towards Asia, specifically China and Russia. Okay. But in my opinion, I think it is already one world global system. Folks are kind of thinking that, oh no, we're waiting for this quote, quote, new world order, this, that, and the third. That bending already happened. Okay?
It already happened.
Exactly.
We're already living in it.
Yeah, I agree. So that's my other $0.50.
What that's that?
I need
Foreign
to change that
affairs.
with another book.
Who Who will run the world? America, China, and global order.
See, these are magazines that nobody reads.
Elizabeth Warren, A Foreign Policy for All. Is that what that says at the
What
top?
year did this come out?
When did
This one came out this is in January, February of 2019.
So did Pocahontas write that? They know what they call her?
Ooh, you
Pocahontas?
wrong for that now.
I like Senator Warren.
Did she?
I have my personal reasons why I like her.
I'm
What
just
is it?
saying.
Now
She
look.
say she American Indian,
This one.
and I believe her. But
I
I
mean,
just
if
want to know did she write that?
She can be American Indian, but we know we are indigenous, so it's to the land. So they can be whatever they want to be, but we know who we are.
Miss Tamika, this for you.
Concise dictionary. Oh,
This for you. That's for you.
I love that.
This is for you.
I love that. There's another good one when you're talking about dictionaries. What's his name? Brother Lee Cummins. He just did a Hebrew dictionary.
Is that
I don't
right?
know if you ever heard of Lee Cummins. He talks about the 13 Black colonies, the Negro question, and tells the history of how the 13 colonies was set up by Black nobles from Europe. King James, King Charles, and all of them was actually melanated nobles that came over here and set up these charters. But he has a Hebrew dictionary that he just brought out. And I thought that was quite interesting because a lot of these words that we're using, especially English, they come from Latin, but we never really get the Hebrew version of it. So I think that's a good thing to add to the arsenal too, bro. What you think?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I talked about it before. It may have been on our first show when I brought up the word and the term emancipate, because everybody thought that emancipate meant to free you, but it doesn't. You look it up in etymology and you'll find that it only means to simply transfer ownership from one to another. So emancipation meant to transfer the slaves to the state. They became wards of the state.
Do you know how many people of color don't understand that? Americans of color that do not understand that?
Yeah, plenty.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I just learned something. It's kind of like you heard it before, but then you hear it again and it clicks a different way. So you know how we always hear about us fighting for human rights? Do you know what the true definition of human is?
Oh, yeah. Monster.
I knew you knew, Brother Roland. I knew you knew. I did not believe it. I was like, what? A monster? And then it goes in even more. Like, it's deeper than that, y'all. Can't own land. A human cannot own land, according to the dictionary, the law dictionary.
Black's
when
Law
it talks
Dictionary.
about humans. Yeah.
Black's Law Dictionary. Mm-hmm.
So were we supposed to be for human rights?
I got 3 of them sitting over there too.
So so what do we call ourselves?
Spirit. I'm spirit. What are you?
I am.
All right,
soul.
that's my favorite. I am. I
That's
am
what I say.
God, and God is me. I am. That is huge.
All right.
right.
I know we done took up a whole bunch of time with that Ukrainian thing, and it just went into all different types of things. So let's hear what you have to say about the young people.
Well, real quick, because we're gonna make this short this evening, because y'all know I've been up for the last week trying to get some stuff together with my book. My biggest concern is our youth, and that has always been my concern. And the reason why is my concern is because they are our future. And so, of course, people that don't look like us, they understand that they are our future that look like us. And so with that said, it was a article that came out of the Marshall Report, and it was talking about one of the main characters was a young brother named Terrence, and how he had went to jail as a I hate the word juvenile, but as a young he was 16 years old, and he was they said that he was going to go to this juvenile facility. He was going to get education, he was going to get treatment, he was going to get skills and all kinds of stuff like that. And now here it is years later, and he's sitting on death row. And there's so many people that are sitting on death row that were actually young people or youth that ended up in the system. And it's just really, really unfortunate that no one seems to care about the youth. And, I remember before I went on my sabbatical, and I had a nonprofit called the Katie Abel Foundation. And it was, we taught financial literacy to from elementary school to junior high school, high school. We, did some stuff in some colleges and, and all the way to senior citizens. But our main focus was on the youth. And, and then when I went on my sabbatical, when I came home, I was trying to figure out what's happening with our youth. And of course, some of you know that I'm the director of Court Wash Judicial Accountability for Prince George's County. And I, sit in these bond review hearings, and I see how, the courts are throwing our babies away. And is really something sad to see. Not to mention, a lot of the judges that are throwing our babies away look like me and look like you. And so that's a huge issue for me. And I'm quite concerned. Not to mention, a lot of our youth are being charged as adults. Now in Maryland is a new piece of legislation that they are trying to pass called SB 165, where the youth will be first heard in juvenile court, opposed to right now in the state of Maryland, you can be sent to an adult court first, and then you have to put in for a waiver or transfer to try to get that child into juvenile court. And, I'm just trying to figure out, like, at some point, when do we start caring about the young folks again? Roland, you was, before we came on the air, and you was, telling us that, hey, your son got accepted into this school. It's a really good school. And it's just so amazing. But it's like, where are the other parents that are I'm not trying to throw no parents under the bus, but, where are their parents? And, what are they doing about the fact that our babies are being sent to jail, prison, camps, and cages? And we're thinking that when they go all to these juvenile facilities, that they are getting the treatment that they need, when they are really learning how to be better criminals, or, they are in there fighting for their lives and they end up with new charges. And apparently, if they on death row, it has to be murder charges to protect themselves and save their own lives, but end up on death row where the state is getting ready to take their life. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, I have no idea at this point, what's going on. I had an interesting conversation with a family member before I came on the air this evening, and I'm not going to go into too many details, because the last time I did that, it didn't go well. But I care more about the young people than what people think. And the worst thing in the whole world is to be accused of not caring, when I've put my life on the line for our youth, and I still continue to do that. And I understand that our youth, they are our future, and that they are worth the investment. And the only thing that I can do is continue to focus on our youth, and continue to put out there about prison life and what's happening in this injustice system, and the fact that the new target is our babies. And we got that school to prison pipeline, like, what's going on there? Like, I remember when I was in school, they you would get suspended for a day or 2 or 3. Now they picking up the phone, calling the police right away. Well, guess what happens when the school called the police? You going to jail. And so I'm just really saddened by this whole planet. I'm very discouraged of what we're doing to Mother Planet as a indigenous American woman. I'm very disappointed in what we're doing to the youth. I'm very disappointed in what we're doing to our trees and our plants, and I'm very disappointed in people placing judgment on one another. I'm very disappointed in people assuming that they know who you are, and then they don't, and then they place it. Like, I've already been judged. I don't need anyone to judge me. And I certainly don't have anybody else. And what I do know emphatically is that our youth needs guidance. Our youth need love. But in the same token, we all need love. And I just want to remind our family out there in the audience to, hit thumbs up, hit subscribe, and share, and tell us what you think about the fact that we are watching our young brothers and sisters be thrown in jail and sent to death row. And not to mention, a lot of abuse go on in these juvenile facilities, a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of physical abuse, a lot of mental abuse. And it's really unfortunate. And so, I couldn't finish, I couldn't read this article on the air because I would have, started crying. But I'm really saddened that we have people that are on death row that started out in the system as a juvenile. And not to mention, there's so many shady attorneys, defense attorneys that are out there. And you think that our defense attorney is for us, and then you find out that they got some other shady stuff going on. So at the end of the day, you can't even trust people that look like you. You can't even trust people that look like me. And, for me, I just try to stay focused on being a Buddhist. And I try to stay focused on, being a scholar of metaphysics and holding my moral compass close to me, and making sure that I see what I see, I hear what I hear, I know what I know. And I just walk with non-judgmental thoughts, and that I continue to send love to our youth. And hopefully some of this will rub off on people that are in positions to do something about it. Too many of our youth are going to jail and are ending up on death row as adults.
Thank you for sharing that. Oh, you want to go first, Brother Roland?
Go ahead.
As a mother of a child who's experienced the school to prison pipeline, I just want to say salute to you, Dr. Carmen, for what you do. It's hard. I wouldn't have not known half of what I know if it wasn't for my son being stuck repetitively in this system. Yeah. With people who look like us, not willing to help, but actually just throw them in the fire.
Yep.
So I was reading this article that talked specifically about trauma affecting your DNA, and not only your DNA, but your children's DNA. And the importance of the psyche of the mother while she's pregnant with the child. This is why we're not seeing the things that we want to see. It's because it's done in the womb. We're not seeing the change that we want to see. It's like, why is Pookie and Ray Ray not getting it? Pookie and Ray Ray was traumatized in their mother's womb, and there's science behind it that prove it. There was a study that was done in Rwanda where these scientists studied the epigenetics of people, the Tutsi women who were tortured with the genocide and having to see dead bodies and all this stuff. And then when you're when you're in jail and you're seeing people getting murdered, getting beat up, that's traumatizing. That's almost like being in a war zone. You don't know if someone's gonna come in and do something to you while you're there. You're always on edge. So when they get out of jail, what's next? Where's the rehabilitation at? Where's the community support? There is none. There's not enough programs. There's a lot of people who want to do something about it, but the funding's not there and the facilities are not there.
Well, the funding is there. The problem with that is the funding is only going to a selective group. And is normally a group that have never been impacted, don't know anything about being impacted, don't have a family member that have experienced being impacted, but they are the ones that are making the decisions. They are the ones that are getting the big bag. They are the ones that are creating these bullshit programs that don't work. And it is really unfortunate. And then you have a lot of, like little grassroots organizations that are putting the work in that are not getting the support, the financial support that they need in order to survive or thrive. And then you go even further. Then it's like middle-sized, organizations that are able to reach back and grab even smaller organizations that are willing to put in the work, that are putting in the work. And they seem to change up, and it's really a sad thing. And so for me, what I have to do is I have to stay focused on looking straight ahead, because I got more years behind me than I have in front of me, and I have to just create what I know a better place should be like and look like. And I just have to envision, unity and things of that nature. But at this point, I'm like, I'm for me, sometimes I just be ready to check off this prison that we on, because Earth is nothing but a prison within itself, and people don't even realize that. And it's like, what's the point? It's like, everything is just a disaster. Changing the subject, I ordered groceries the other day, and I ordered the same stuff that I always get, and the groceries was $200, $201. And I'm like, what in the world? Gas is up, groceries is up. Everything is just a disaster. Like, I don't even look at the news. Like, everything is just a disaster. But what does hit my heart is the youth. That kills me. That kills me, and people placing judgment on me kills me, that don't even know me.
I just want to make mention of a few things, and that's why people saw me with my head down, is because I was doing some research and trying to pull up certain things. We're going to go back to 1452. Papal bull Most people don't know what a papal bull is, where it's a decree from the Vatican or the Pope.
Mm-hmm.
And that papal bull gave Spain and Portugal the right to enslave Black people perpetually. Perpetually means what? Forever. That's what it means. Now, we know what happened during that time period, but I'm trying, because I don't want to linger on it too long. We go up to a comedian, Richard Pryor. He would have this little skit about, it was a robbery and the nigga looked like you. Excuse my language. And they would do these things. And this was back in the 70s. Then we go up to the early 90s and Ice Cube comes out with a record called Who Got the Camera? Oh please, oh please, oh please, just give me one more hit. And it was in response to Rodney King getting beat and it being caught on camera. So that time, before the cameras came out, this was an ongoing thing since the papal bull. Mm-hmm. The treatment of us and our people, it's been going on since then. Now, you got last week or 2 weeks ago, we get another camera with two boys in the shopping mall. One white, one black. But if you look at the group, it's a mixed group. It's a mixed group. So these kids, they're hanging together. 14, 15, 16 years old, from what I understand. And the older boy was bullying another boy. So the one boy gets up and defends the boy that was getting bullied. And it's like, look, man, stop doing this, blah, blah, blah. Then this dude, the one that's older, saying, I do this to you too. And the next thing you know, he getting up in his face and kind of touches the boy, and then the boy pushes him back. And the next thing you know, they fighting. What happens? The police come right in, grab the one boy, pull him up, sit him down, and then jump on top of the other one. The smaller one, might I add you, grabs him, puts him on the ground, bend his arms behind his back, put the knee in his back, tell the other guy, hey, you just sit here, we'll get you later. Come back, and the next thing you know, the other one puts their knee, the woman cop puts her knee on his back also. Everybody is sitting around, and this is a black kid on the ground, and it's a white kid who's doing the bullying. But what did they innately do? They went straight to that young black boy. What we're dealing with is something that has been ingrained in a certain group of people. It's okay to do this to them because they not humans, they monsters. We're going back to Black's Law Dictionary, right? They not human, they monsters. So you can treat them any kind of way. When it comes to the justice system, we can treat them any kind of way. We can put them, a 14-year-old, in front of a judge and send him to a all-male, adult male prison, and let him wait there. And look what they do. They savages in there. They monsters. Look what they doing to each other. And then they blast it all over the world to make us look like we nothing but animals. And that's not true. We've been treated so bad. And it's still going on to this very day.
Yeah, but you also heard me say that, I sit, in court watch, and most of the judges look like us. So what do we have to say about that? You know what I mean? Or, when I think about, I beg your pardon?
It simply means that the oppressed is taken on has taken on the practices and norms of the oppressor. That's what happened.
I understand that. I'm just trying to. So what does that What does that look like? Like, not what does it look like, but what does that actually like? How can we do that to one another? So if we know that if we know that this is the norm, then how could we do this to one another? How can I hurt you? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you hurt me? Like, how can I hurt Tamika? How can I hurt Rhonda? How can I know that, oh, I got a 14, I'm a judge, I'm a female judge of color, and is a 15-year-old, young man standing in front of me, and I know that his, he had a bad household, the situation is, horrible, but I'm going to send them to an adult jail. What do we think?
Tamika said something to you not too long ago. She said it was ingrained in you in the womb. You think about it. Years ago, when you was on the plantation, they would tie the woman up. And in some cases, they would take a knife and cut the baby. And they would let everybody on that plantation see. This is the things this is what happens to you when you do this. Think about this. How in the world does a police officer who said that I mistake this gun, I thought this was my taser, get convicted and get 2 years of prison time? The judge up there, oh, she didn't mean to do it. You see, it's funny how, when we look at, just like when we look at the back of the dollar bill, you got two symbols on there. I mean, you got two, what you call them? One is the eagle. The other one is the pyramid. But the only one you see them using is the eagle. You don't never see them using the pyramid. But they got two seals. That's what it's called, a seal. So one group is utilizing the seal because they know that the pyramid don't belong to them. It belongs to a certain other group of people who don't know it's theirs. So they can treat you however they want to treat you. And they will get the people that look just like you to continue to treat you because the oppressor will never teach you to take over. So if you come into my college, you part of my bar association, you part of whatever it is, you in this court system, guess what? You're going to act according to the rules and regulations that I put out. And if you don't deal with it, guess what? I will disbar you. I will pull you off the bench. I will find a reason and blast it on the TV and assassinate your character if you go against these rules. And the next thing you know, hey, that's what we got. And the only way we're going to get out of this that I see, we have to unify, but we hard-headed. We are hard-headed as hell.
So with that said, until next time, the pretense of justice, I want you to think about, as you see that young brother or that young sister walking down the street, I want you to think about, what are they going through? What are they going through at home? What are they going through in school? What are they going through when they walk to the mall with their friends? What are they going through? And then tell me what you come up with. Because I can't imagine sending a young person of color to jail the rest of their life. I just can't imagine, let alone putting them on death row when their life was already, when it was already stacked against them. The deck was already stacked against them. And like, Tamika said, we need more programs. We need to start creating more programs for our youth. They are our future. And with that
And
said,
also supporting the ones that are here. So make sure y'all check out helpingourselves.org. Go ahead, take it away. I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, the Pretense of Justice, the book will be out in the next couple of weeks. So you guys will be getting an email from me. I'll be confirming your address and things of that nature. And I'm getting ready to, hear what you guys are going to think about, my story and my experience, and it wasn't a pretty one. So with that said, peace, love, and understanding. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, family.